This is Feldenkrais San Diego with an awareness through movement lesson. So please begin by lying on your back and spend a few moments lying on your back, listening to how you fit on the floor. Notice what areas make contact with the floor as you lie like this. You'll notice there are areas of your back and your shoulders, your hips, the back of your head. You'll notice there are areas touching. Notice how those areas make contact. Get a sense of that. And please roll onto your right side. Rest on your right side if you need a pad under your head to be comfortable on your side. Place a pad under your head or lie with your right arm long so you can rest your head on your upper arms. Find a way that you can rest comfortably on your right side. Bend your knees so the knees are in front of the hips. The knees are bent as if you were sitting in a chair. So the knees are bent in front of your hips. And in this position, take your left hand and place your left hand on your forehead so that the fingers are lengthwise along your forehead. And the elbow can point toward the ceiling. And a few times, use the left hand. Use the left hand to roll the head. Slowly, easily, comfortably roll the head a bit to the left. So roll the head a little to the left and come back. So you're facing forward and you're rolling the head. The head turns. Use the left hand to roll the head. So the eyes look a bit toward looking up the wall or toward the ceiling. It's not important how far you go, but just this idea of simply rolling the head and then listening, observing how much of the back comes along with this. What do you notice in the left shoulder blade? Listen to how the back moves. So you'll notice as you use the left hand to roll the head a bit to the left, you'll notice that it's actually not about the neck turning, but the torso moves as well. So it's a simple movement of using the left hand to roll the head to the left and back. In fact, take the movement so you're rolling the head a little to the right. That means that you're rolling the head to begin to look toward the floor a bit, and then you're rolling the head in the other direction so you begin to look up the wall or toward the ceiling a bit. And then looking toward the floor. The whole time it's the left hand on the forehead that's rolling your head and turning. And feel how that reflects in a movement in the torso. Feel how the shoulder blade, especially the left shoulder blade, slides and moves. And please roll onto your back and take a rest. And as you rest on your back, notice any differences, anything you sense about how you make contact as you lie here. What's changed about areas of your back or shoulders that are in contact with the floor? Has anything changed? And come back onto your right side. So please roll onto your right side, bend both knees in front of you, rest your head on a pad or have the right arm long and rest the head on the upper arm. So you're in the same position that you were in just a moment ago. And resting on your right side like this time place your left hand on the floor in front of you and take the left knee, slide the left knee forward. That means the 2 feet stay stacked on top of each other. And the movement is a very slight one of taking the left knee in front of the right knee. Most likely the movement that will emerge will be taking the knee toward your head, which is not what we're doing. So it's not taking the knee toward the head, but taking it directly forward, directly in front of the right knee. So the 2 knees are stacked on top of each other, and the left knee protrudes in front of the right and then comes back. So the whole time you're doing this movement of taking the left knee a little forward and back of the right knee, the 2 feet stay stacked on top of each other. So there's no movement, there's no relative movement of the 2 feet. It's a sliding motion of the left knee. So as the left knee slides forward, feel that brings the left hip forward also. So the movement, the feeling is the left hip coming forward, and as the left hip comes forward, that takes the left knee forward. But the 2 feet stay stacked together. The left knee is sliding a bit forward of the right knee and a little bit behind the right knee. Right, so the right knee is resting on the floor and the left knee is just sliding forward and backward. And slowly explore this movement. And please roll onto your back and take a rest from it. And resting on your back, notice how you fit on the floor. Again, can you sense something different? Perhaps in how the 2 legs lie on the floor. Something about how the hips rest on the floor. Are you heavier or longer or wider? Does your weight rest differently on the floor now? Notice that. Please come back onto your right side with the knees bent in front of you, the head resting on a pad or on your upper right arm. And return to placing the left hand on the forehead, so the left hand lies lengthwise along the forehead. That means as your head rests on the arm or the pad, the fingertips, the fingers are pointing toward the floor, and the heel of the hand is near the temple on the left side or the forehead. and your fingers are pointing downward toward the floor. The elbows facing upward toward the ceiling. And come back to this movement we did a bit earlier of rolling the head a little to the right, a little to the left. So using the left arm to roll the head a little bit to the right and a little bit to the left. And notice if there's a difference in your ability to roll the head. Is something about this smoother or a little bit easier in some way? Observe the breathing also. How do you breathe as you roll the head? And now combine the two movements. So as you rest your left hand on your forehead, as you roll the head a bit toward the ceiling, take the left knee backward. As you roll the head toward the floor, take the left knee forward, so that you'll find that the whole trunk, the whole torso is moving together in one piece. So you're rolling the head as you take the knee forward and backward. The head rolls forward. The nose comes toward the floor as the knee comes forward, and the knee moves backward. The hip moves backward as the head looks a little toward the ceiling. Let the head roll together with the hip and the knee. Of course, the feet stay stacked one on top of the other. But the whole spine, the entire torso is rolling forward and backward. You'll notice there's also a changing, shifting weight on the right side, the ribs on the floor on the right side as you roll the torso so that it's coming toward the belly, coming toward the floor. A different part of the ribs and torso is connected to the floor. Then when you take the knee, the left knee backward and the head backward, you'll start to feel a different area of the right side in contact with the floor. So feel that changing contact with the floor of the right side on the floor as you're rolling, using your left hand to roll the head forward and backward, using the left knee to move the hip and knee forward and backward. So you're rolling in one piece. Gently, slowly, without effort. And please rest on your back. And on your back, notice your contact here. Again, are things changing? Areas of contact, is it different? The parts of you that touch the floor in particular, is there a difference? Is there anything about the right side lying on the floor that's different in some way from how the left side lies on the floor? See if you can determine any difference in sensation of weight or length or width. And after resting, after making these observations, once again, come onto your right side. Again, your knees are bent in front of you, your head's resting on a pad or on the upper right arm. And in this position on your right side, bring the left hand to your forehead and come back to this movement of rolling the head a little forward, a little backward, So the nose looks toward the ceiling, the eyes and the nose look toward the ceiling, and then the eyes and nose look toward the floor. The hand is rolling the head, so the head turns. Notice what moves in the torso. What does the left shoulder blade do? And then as you roll the head backward, as you roll the head so that the nose looks up the wall toward the ceiling, take the knee forward. As the head rolls to look toward the floor, take the knee backward. So the head rolls upward as the knee goes forward. The hip and knee go backward as the head looks down. So this time the movement is that the head is moving in opposition to the pelvis. Right? So make the movement a bit slower and really sense what part of your back comes along with the head and the upper part of the torso, and what part of the spine follows the lower part. So you're rolling the head downward with the left hand as the knee goes backward. As the head looks upward, the knee and the hip go forward. So there's a oppositional rotation happening in the torso. And just gently observe what this is like. Find an ease and a comfort with the movement. And notice, can you breathe as you do this movement? And please roll onto your back and take a rest. Notice the difference in the two sides lying here. And roll onto your left side. So now you're resting on the left side. The left arm is long above your head. So you can rest your head on your upper left arm or place a pad under your head. The two knees are bent. The 2 feet are stacked. So the knees and feet are stacked one on top of the other. And the right hip is directly above the left hip. Please place your right hand, the right palm of your hand, on your forehead, lengthwise on your forehead, and begin to roll the head so that you look a little toward the floor and a little toward the ceiling. So notice on this side that the movement's likely quite different. You might find it's an easier movement, that it's clearer or smoother or simpler in some way. Or you might find it's less so. And depending on what you sense, make the movement fit that. So if it's a more difficult movement on this side, make the movement smaller, go more slowly. If you find it easier, maybe the movement's a bit more expansive. In every case, we're not interested in stretching or pushing or going further, but rather staying with a simple, easy movement and listening to many details. For example, as you're rolling the head to look upward a bit, up the wall toward the ceiling, as you roll the head to look downward toward the floor, listen to how does that right shoulder blade slide on the ribs of your back? How do the vertebra in the back turn? What parts of the torso rotate as you're slowly rolling the head forward and backward? Find a way to make it easier each time you do it. Lighter, smoother. And in your imagination, compare that to the other side. Can you remember back to what it was like when you initially rolled the head when you were lying on the other side? How does this side compare to that? You're making this comparison in your mind. You're not going back to the movement. You're staying on the left side, rolling the head with the right arm. But you can think back to when you were on the other side. What did that feel like? And how can you compare that to what this feels like? And please roll onto your back and take a rest. Resting on your back, sense yourself here. Sense your connection to the floor, the parts of you touching, your length, your width. Notice the movement of your breath. And once again, please roll onto your left side with both knees bent in front of you. The knees stacked, the feet stacked, the two hips stacked on top of each other. Place the right hand on the floor in front of you.
And as
a few times,
through the left
take
arm,
that right knee
the right
forward
arm. So
and
extend
backward.
the left arm.
Take the right knee
take
forward
the right
and backward.
Also to the left. So
And
the right and
play
left
with that.
arms
See
go
if
to the
that's
left.
simple. Recall that the two feet stay stacked together. The feet don't move. It's just that
Right arm
knee
is
coming
dragged to
forward
the left.
and that right knee coming
Notice the whole
backward.
chest,
A
the
few
middle
times
torso.
explore this movement.
Everything moves to the left. The left arm reaches
And if
to
this
the
is
left,
completely
the back of the
comfortable,
left hand
on this,
slides along the
on this
floor.
side,
So
explore
much
this
so that it
idea
pulls
of
the right
lifting
arm, so the right arm reaches to the left as
the
well.
right knee. So the right knee
And then
lifts
reach
a
through the
bit
right
toward
arm.
the ceiling. That
Extend
means
through
that
the
the
right arm.
hip rolls
And feel
backward.
that as you reach through the right arm, that lengthens the right arm so much so that the left arm comes along. So extend and reach through the right arm and feel both arms come to the right. Extend and reach through the left
Just
arm.
once or
Feel
twice
both
with that
arms
movement.
come. Both arms stay lying on the floor.
And then
palms
return
the
to
ceiling.
placing
But
the
you reach so well with the right arm.
right
that
hand
it
on the
moves
forehead
not
and
only
roll
the
the
right
head
hand, the right elbow,
backward
the right
and
shoulder,
forward.
the chest comes along, the torso, the left shoulder, the
and
left
add
elbow,
that
the
movement
left hand.
of slightly
Everything
lifting the right
follows.
knee
And do the same on
as
the
you
other
roll
side.
the head backward. So the head's looking toward
Notice
the ceiling,
that one
and at a
side,
certain point,
one
allow
arm
the right knee
reaches
to
a
lift
little more
and see
easily
can you
or
go
more
further.
completely compared to the
By
other.
just lifting the right knee a bit
So
away
playfully
from the left
extend
knee,
through one
the right
arm,
knee lifting
and then
toward the
extend
ceiling a
through the
bit
other arm.
as you're rolling that head backward with the right hand on
And as
the
you reach through
forehead.
the right arm,
So
allow
the
the
head's
head
looking
to
toward the
turn.
ceiling at
to
a
the
certain
right.
point.
As you reach through
It
the
becomes
left
less
arm,
easy to
turn
roll
look
to the right.
toward the left.
At that moment,
To
lift the
turn the
right
head
knee and
slightly
see,
in the
do you
direction
go
that you
further?
reach the arm.
Can you look
Both
further?
arms are going to the left as the head turns.
And explore that a
left
few
slightly.
times.
Both
And then
arms are
leave the knee
going to
alone,
the right
rest
as
the
head
knee,
slightly
stack the
turns
right
to
knee
the
on
right.
top of the left knee, and a few times just roll the head right and
Many times
left.
Explore just turning the head in the direction of the arm reaching.
So that the
And discover
right
what
hand
that's
is
like.
rolling the head backward and rolling the head forward.
And do the opposite. Turn the head
The head
away
looks toward
from
the
reaching
floor,
arm. So
the
as
head looks
right
toward the
arm
ceiling.
reaches, turn the hand toward the
Has
arm
this gotten
that's not
smoother
reaching, but the
or lighter
following
in
arm.
some
So the
way?
head
Notice
turns to the
that.
left as the right arm reaches. As the left arm reaches, turn the head to the right.
And please
So that
roll
the
onto
head
your back and
turns
take a break.
away from the arm that reaches. Notice the sensation when you do that. What is that like?
And on your back, sense differences and changes that are occurring.
What changes in the ability of the arm to reach? And then once again, turn the head in the direction
How
of
do
the
you
arm
make
reaching.
contact with the floor now? How has this changed? How is it different compared to the beginning?
Notice that more of your shoulders slide on the floor as you allow both arms to move. More of your chest is moving. The arm reaches further to each side.
Please roll onto your left side, bend both knees in front of you.
And please take a break and rest. Leave it all alone. Pause on your back and notice your contact with the floor. What's changing in your connection to the floor as you lie here now? Something a little bit different. Are there different parts of you touching the floor? Notice that.
Place the right hand on the forehead and roll the
This is the
head
first part of the lesson. We're going
so
to
that the head
continue
looks
with this
toward the
lesson
floor a bit,
next
toward the
week.
ceiling. Roll the head right
This is
and left.
Feldenkrais San
Notice
Diego,
what that's
and,
like.
We'll be doing a lesson again next week.
Come back
a
to this
different
movement.
One, continuing this one. And when you're ready, roll to your side. Bring yourself up to sitting.
And this
Notice
time,
yourself
as you
in
roll the
sitting,
head to
yourself
look toward the
stand.
floor, begin to lift
Observe
the
your
knee.
ability to stand, how you stand,
And as you
weight
roll
on
the
your
head to
feet,
look toward the ceiling, lower the knee.
the orientation
So the right
of your
knee
head and
lifts as the
space.
head rolls
Observe yourself.
to look toward the floor. The right knee
When you're
lowers
ready,
as
bring
the
it into
head looks
walking
toward
and
the
notice what
ceiling.
that's like. And we'll be back next week.
So the leg
If you'd like to
and
check
the
us
head
out on Facebook,
are
it's
moving in opposition.
Feldenkrais San Diego on
If it's not
Facebook.
comfortable to
And if you'd
lift
like
the
to
right
check out the
knee, just
website,
take the
it's
knee forward and
feldenkraissd.com.
backward as we did on the other side. So the other way to do this would be to roll the head to look toward the floor. As you take the right knee backward, roll the head toward the ceiling. As you take the right knee forward. So again, the movement of the head is in opposition to the movement of the pelvis. And we're listening to the complexity that creates in the rotation of the back. Observe that. And then leave it alone, and a few times just roll the head so that you're rolling a bit forward and a bit backward. Notice what that's like. And please roll on your back and take a rest. And resting here on your back, notice the connection with the floor and observe, has something changed? Is there a difference in the parts of you touching the floor? The parts of you connected to the floor? Sense your breathing. Observe how you settle here. And when you're ready, please roll to your side, either side. Push yourself up to sitting. Notice yourself in sitting. What's different about your ability to sit? Sit bones. How do the sit bones connect to the floor? Is there a difference in the spine, the length of the spine? And when you're ready, bring yourself all the way up to standing and notice yourself in standing. What changes do you notice in your ability to stand? How do you carry yourself when you're upright on your feet like this? When you're ready, take it into walking. And please come back next week. We'll have another ATM lesson, another awareness through movement lesson, another Feldenkrais lesson. So again, this is Feldenkrais San Diego. You can find us on Facebook, and the website is feldenkraissd.com. Thanks a lot.